How to play Race for the Galaxy. Each player selects one of 7 phases to be played each round, and all players simultaneously reveal their selection. During the round, every player may take an action for only the selected phases, with the player who chose the phase getting a bonus. The player with the most victory points at the end of the game wins. Phases. Phase 1. Explore. All players draw 2 cards and select one of the cards to keep, discarding the other face down in the shared discard pile. If a player selected the +5 Explore action, they draw 7 cards and keep 1. If a player selected the +1/+1 Explore action, they draw 3 cards and keep 2. Phase 2. Develop. All players may choose to place one development card before them. All players simultaneously reveal their card and pay the cost to build the development. A development is a special card that provides players with extra powers in the game. It is represented by a diamond shape. The cost of the card is written on the diamond in the top left corner. To pay for a development, players must discard from their hand the number of cards equal to the development's cost. Players who selected the development action pay 1 less the card's cost. Players may not build 2 of the same development. The number on the hexagon in the top left corner of the card represents the number of victory points the development will be worth at the end of the game. There are 12 special developments that cost 6 and provide a variable amount of victory points depending on what other cards you have played. For example, Free Trade Association earns 2 points for each novelty production world, 1 point for each novelty windfall world, and 2 points for the consumer markets or expanding colony. Phase 3. Settle. All players may choose to place one world before them. All players simultaneously reveal their card and pay the cost for it. Worlds are represented by a circle in the top left corner. The cost is the number written in this circle. Players must discard this number of cards to settle the world. Players who selected the settle action draw 1 card after settling. The number on the hexagon represents how many victory points the world is worth. Worlds with a colored halo around the circle are called windfall worlds. When these worlds are settled, a good is immediately placed on the world. Draw 1 card from the draw pile and place it face down on the card to represent the good. Worlds outlined in red are military worlds. These are not paid for like other worlds. Instead, players must have a military strength equal to the world's cost to conquer the world. Military strength is measured by adding up the military power on all the cards you've already played. Phase 4. Consume. There are 4 types of good. Novelty goods worth 2 cards, rare elements worth 3 cards, genes worth 4, and alien technology worth 5. Only players who select the trade action may sell a good. They discard the good, face down, never looking at what the card was, and then draw cards equal to the value of the good plus any extra trade powers they have. After trading, all players must consume any remaining goods if possible. In order to consume, players must have a good and a world or development with a matching consume power. Players discard the good face down and take 1 victory point token, regardless of the type of good consumed. Victory point chips are kept visible for all players to see. Players may choose which order to consume goods and which power to use for each good, meaning it's possible to end the phase with goods left over that might have been used had they consumed in a different order. However, once a consume power is activated, it must be used as much as possible before activating another consume power, meaning you can't consume one good on Old Earth and then another on New Vinland. You have to consume both on Old Earth, but you could consume one on New Vinland first and then one on Old Earth. Players who select the ×2 consume action still activate the consume phase for all players, but get double victory points for each good they themselves consume. Phase 5. Produce. All players produce goods. Worlds with a solid colored circle are called production worlds. Players draw a card and place it on each production world to represent the produced goods. Yellow worlds produce alien technology, green worlds produce genes, brown produces rare elements, and blue produces novelty goods. Players who select produce a good on any one windfall world. Setup. Each player is given a colored set of the 7 phase cards. Each player randomly selects one of the 5 start worlds and places it on the table before them. The remaining start worlds are shuffled in the draw pile with the rest of the cards. As a windfall world, Alpha Centauri starts with a good placed on it. Every player is dealt 6 cards from the draw pile, and they select 4 to keep and 2 to discard into the common discard pile. If the draw pile is ever depleted, it is replaced with the shuffled discard pile. 12 victory points per player are placed in the middle of the table. Gameplay. The game starts with each player selecting one phase to play from their 7-card phase set. All players simultaneously reveal the phases they've selected, and the chosen phases are played in their numerical order. All players may participate in the selected phases, and unselected phases are skipped this round. If 2 players select the same phase, the phase is still played only once, but both players get a bonus. After all phases have been played, the round ends and players pick up their phase cards, discard their hand down to 10 cards if needed, and select phases again to start the next round. The game ends at the end of the round where at least one player has 12 or more cards on the table before them, or all the victory points are used up. Players can earn more victory points than were originally in the pile. After all remaining phases in the final round have been played, players count their victory points to find the winner. Add all victory points earned from cards played to all victory point chips earned from consuming goods and any points earned from 6-cost development cards. The tiebreaker is the number of cards in hand and leftover goods on worlds. Card powers. Most cards offer extra powers to the player after the card is played. The powers are cumulative and correspond to the phase with the matching numeral as displayed next to the power. Draw. Draw the number of cards at the start of the corresponding phase. Explore phase. Draw extra. Draw extra cards to select from every explore phase. Keep extra. Keep 1 extra card when exploring. Develop powers. Reduce cost. The cost of developments is reduced. A cost can never be less than 0. Draw after. Draw 1 card after placing a development. Settle powers. Reduce cost. -2 cost for non-military worlds. Specific reduce cost. -1 or 2 cost for worlds of the corresponding color. Reduce cost to 0. The player may discard this card to play any non-military world for 0 cost. It cannot be used for yellow alien worlds. Military. Contributes to players' military strength to conquer military worlds. The -1 reduces strength. Specific military adds to military strength only when conquering worlds of the corresponding type. Temporary military. The player may discard this card to have +3 military strength for this settle phase only. Pay for military. The player may pay for military worlds as if they were non-military worlds at -1 cost. This cannot be used for alien worlds, but can be combined with other reduced cost powers, including the colony ship. Draw after. Draw 1 card after playing a world. Trade powers. Any good. Draw more cards when selling any good. Specific kind of good. Draw more cards when selling a good of the corresponding color. This world's good. Draw more cards when selling a good from this world only. Consume powers. Any 1 good. Discard 1 good of any kind for the specified number of victory point chips and/or cards. Fixed number of goods. Discard 2 cards of any kind for 3 victory points, or discard 3 goods, each of a different kind, for 3 victory points. Specific kind of goods. Discard the indicated number of a specific kind of good for the victory points or cards shown. Discard up to. Discard goods up to the indicated number for the victory points or cards shown for each good consumed. Once invoked, these cards must be used to the full extent possible before invoking another consume power. All goods. Consume all remaining goods for victory points equal to the amount consumed -1. If consuming 3 goods for ×2 victory points, the number of chips earned would be 5. For cards at trade price. Discard 1 good to gain cards equal to its trade price. The black market trading world does not include other trade powers, but the trading league does. Draw if lucky. Pick a number between 1 and 7. If the top card on the draw pile has the matching cost, keep the card. Otherwise, discard it. The gambling world can be used to consume 1 good normally instead. Discard cards, not goods. The player may discard up to 2 cards from their hand for 1 victory point each. The ×2 bonus does not apply, and this power is optional, so players may discard only 1 or no cards if they choose. Produce powers. Produce good. This world produces a good if there is not one already on it. Produce windfall good. The player produces a good on any one windfall world, or a windfall world of the corresponding color. Produce good and draw. If the world produces a good this turn, draw cards. Draw for kind. Draw 1 card for each good of the corresponding color produced this phase by the player. Draw for most of a kind. Draw 2 cards if the player produced the most rare element goods this phase. Draw for different kinds. Draw 1 card for each different kind of good the player produced this phase. Draw for worlds. Draw 1 card for each gene world the player has on the table. 2-player game. The rules for a 2-player game are the same, except the extra develop and settle cards are added to each player's phase cards, and players choose 2 phases each round instead of 1. If a player chooses develop twice or settle twice, then 2 separate develop or settle phases take place respectively.